Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to hike to San Jacinto Peak from the tram in Palm Springs. Now luckily the tram does most of the work. It'll take you up a few thousand feet and you're going to start the hike from Mountain Station, but it's still a hard hike. It's not something I recommend if you're a beginner. If you've never really hiked or hiked in the mountains or don't have a good level of fitness, I wouldn't do this hike. And I'll talk more about what you need to do in order to do the hike, including the gear you need, how you should prepare, and parking and everything. And that'll all be on my website at HikingGuy.com. That'll be all the unfun logistical stuff that's not fun to watch in a video. But in this video, I'll show you what the hike is like. I'll show you exactly how to make all the turns and everything from the tram all the way up to the summit. Now, if you're enjoying the video, if you like it, if you could do me a big favor and click the little thumbs up, it helps me out a ton. It's an easy way for you to say thank you for this video, and it helps me out a lot. So thank you for that. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll show you what the hike looks like on a 3D map, and I'll also give you some tips on breaking it into chunks so that it's easier to tackle mentally. It's about 11 miles round trip. It's an out and back hike, and there's over 2,000 feet of climbing. So if you're an experienced hiker, it's going to be challenging, but it's not going to be a killer hike. But if you're a casual hiker, recreational hiker, it's going to be challenging, and you're going to be up in the high mountains. Sometimes people have problems with the altitude and all of that. And again, I'll talk about that on Hiking Guy. I'm going to stop yapping and show you what this hike looks like. Let's boogie.
All right, so we're going to start down at the tram, and there's a bunch of parking lots. Hopefully you can park at the one closest to the station. And from the lot, you're just going to go up these stairs and up the second set of stairs over there. And in here you can buy your tickets. There's a waiting room, there's bathrooms, and it's just generally a nice little place to hang out. Now, once you get everything sorted and you get your tickets, you're just going to get on the tram, and they're going to kind of herd you in and try to sell you pictures and do all the touristy kinds of things, which you can do if it's your first time. But this is what it looks like, and it's about a 2.5 mile ride. It's going to take you about 6,000 feet up to the cliff up there at Mountain Station. Now the floor rotates, and they do this so that everyone can have a view outside, but it can be a little freaky. It's also a little freaky when you go over the towers like that. You can see the car is swinging around. It is from Switzerland, and they do maintenance on it every year, so it is relatively safe. I've taken this many times, but it can be freaky. Now when you get off, you're going to be in Mountain Station. You're going to go in and then go down these stairs, and there's restaurants here if you want to come back later and have a bite after the hike. That's a good time to do it. But to start, we're just going to go out down the stairs, and you're going to look for this big sign for the state park, and then you're going to head down the paved path. Now this can be, or it usually is, crowded with people not doing the full hike, so just a heads up, it can be a little frustrating here. But head on down the paved section until you come to the end of it here, and there's a big trail board. Today there's a ranger out there answering questions, but we're going to go straight. This is called Long Valley here, and our next stop is going to be, just in a minute, it's going to be the Long Valley Ranger Station. Now you need a free day use permit, and you can just go up the stairs here and sign your permit, fill it out. You take the bottom copy and you put the blue copy in the box, or the top copy. And then when you come back, you're just going to return the copy that you brought with you, so that they know who's on the mountain or not. And once you pass the station, we're going to go up towards the trailhead, up towards the right here. There is a little loop trail off to the left, but we're going to go up to the right and start the hike. Here's a well-marked sign. These are all relatively new signs. We're going to go to Round Valley. That's going to be our next stop, Round Valley. And the first mile or so of the hike here is rolling flats-ish. There's no real uphills, and you can see it's real easy to follow the trail. Not a problem. There's two little bridges here. Sometimes there's water running, but usually not. If you do need water, you can fill up in Mountain Station. Now when you get to this sign, you're going to make the hard left, and this is where the climbing is going to start. All of the flats and downhill parts for the day are pretty much over, and we're going to start the rocky climb up towards Round Valley. Now there's sort of shallow switchbacks here. It's not just straight up the mountain, so it's not too bad, but it is a little bit rocky. You can kind of get an idea of the slope from this shot here. And again, remember, you're at altitude, so if you came up from sea level, you might be a little winded coming up these steep slopes. That's just how it is. Take your time. It's not super long hike, so you can kind of mosey if you need to. Now, after about a mile or so of climbing, you're going to come to a section where it's a little less rocky and a little less steep, and there's another trail junction. We're going to continue up towards Round Valley, which will be our next kind of major intersection. But this is a real pleasant part of the trail here. We're going to go through the campsites at Round Valley, and if you do want to do an overnight trip, you can stay here, or Tamarack Valley. I'll talk about that in the guide. There's also pit toilets there on the right in case you need to go. This is the place, but this is a really neat section here. Flat, lots of huge pines, boulders, kind of your typical San Jacinto terrain here, and real easy to follow as you go through. And when you get to this big junction, this is the Round Valley Junction, and there's a water fill over here, which isn't always running. You can check with some of the sources I list on the website to see. But for the day hike, you shouldn't really need to fill up here in case it's an emergency. We're going to make the hard left there and continue up to Wellman Divide, which is going to be the next kind of landmark here on the hike. And you can see it gets steep again. It's, there's switchbacks, and the trail does break apart and come together in a few places, but overall, it's pretty easy to follow. And if you do break apart, just keep an eye open for it coming back together at some point. And when you get up here, there's sort of a split. We're just going to bear right. The actual junction at Wellman Divide is up on the right over here, but there's a really awesome viewpoint straight ahead. And this also makes a great place to take a break. Now the trail junction's up to the right there, but we're just going to go straight to these boulders where we're going to get some spectacular views to the south. And you can see here, we can see down south, that's Toro Peak down there. You can see the Salton Sea. You can see Kiamaka and Hot Springs Mountain in San Diego. Really, really great place to just chill out for a second before the final push to the summit. And when you're done here, you're just going to go to the right and you will see another trail sign here. It's a trail junction. And you're going to go up towards San Jacinto Peak. The mileages on these signs are a little off sometimes. I think they maybe inflate them to make you a little more weary of going up, but you're just going to go past that sign and continue heading uphill here. And you can see the trail again is easy to follow. There are places where it splits apart, but pretty soon you will come out, and that pointy peak over there is Cornell Peak, but you're going to come out for a little stretch into the brush, and then you're going to go back into the trees and through this boulder field. And then you're going to come right back out onto this climb, this long climb, sort of up the side of the slope here. There's Cornell Peak in the distance again, and there's the Coachella Valley down in the farther distance. Now there's one part you're going to have to really look out for, and that's when the thing ends over here, when their trees start, when the scrub part ends. But otherwise, just go up this rocky section. It's going to be a little tricky on the way down, so just a heads up. But this is the part you want to look out for. When you come to the trees, there's a faint trail going up, and in the winter, sometimes the trail goes up that way, but we're going to cut back to the left. Theoretically, we could just walk right up this hill and kind of cut a lot off, but let's take the official trail, head back to the left, where we're going to, it's kind of like a big switchback from that first section, but we're going to head back this way. And I like it because you get beautiful views here. That's Jean Peak in the distance, and you're going to get more views down to the south of Toro Peak and the peaks that we saw earlier. But really, really nice way to suffer up a hill if you have to suffer, because the views are pretty great. Now at the end of this, the trail is going to turn off to the right, and you're going to come into this little forested area, and you're almost at the summit at this point. Right when you come around, there's a junction sign over there. You don't want to go off to the left. That'll bring you down towards Idlewild and the other side of the mountain, which will be a long Uber ride back. But instead, we're just going to go straight up here. And this is another section where the trail sometimes gets hard to follow because it'll break together and come back together at points. But we're just going to keep on going straight here. It winds around a bit, and if you look up to the right, you're going to see the stone shelter, which was built by the Civilian Conservation Corps, I believe in the 30s, 1933 maybe. I'll put the exact date in the guide. Now when you get up to the shelter, the trail goes up a few different ways, and that's the last little scramble, but I do recommend you check out the shelter. It's a refuge, so it's not a place to really hang out in if you don't need to be there, but if for some reason you get caught in bad weather, you certainly are allowed to come in here and seek refuge from the storm. And this is what it looks like. Pretty basic. And if you have extra supplies or extra water, sometimes people will leave them here. But this is the inside of the shelter. And sometimes people will also have a snack here, maybe leave their packs before the last ascent. Now here we are. This is just past the shelter. I've kind of taken the trail off to the right, which will loop us back around to the left. And eventually the trail will run out. Now this section here, these boulders up to the top, it's a little bit of a choose your own adventure. There's probably dozens and dozens of ways that people have gone. It's not a scramble in the sense that you'll be on the edge of the cliff or anything, and if you are, you're definitely in the wrong place. But in general, you're just climbing up. You can see there's a nice little path that people have climbed up. But you're climbing up these boulders until you get up here to the top. Hopefully there's a summit sign when you get here. Sometimes it's stolen, but this is the summit. From here you can see everywhere. Right in front of us there is San Gorgonio, Angeles National Forest, and then Saddleback Mountain, and that is the hike. All right, so here's the hike, and just to give you an idea, this is where you're going to get the tram. You're going to take it about 6,000 feet up this face of the mountain, Chino Canyon it's called, until you get to the tram station, and then we're going to do the hike up to San Jacinto. Now from the tram station, let me just angle this up here. You can see we have a little bit of a downhill right over here. We're going to go to the ranger station, and the ranger station we're going to get the permits, and our first kind of mental checkpoint will be Round Valley, which is going to be about 2.5 miles up from the beginning. And if we go up like this, you can see there's Round Valley. This is the flat section right here. And then this was that harsh left-hand turn where we have the little switchbacks. I told you it gets rocky. It mellows out here. The rocky section ends. It mellows out a little bit. Round Valley is actually off to your right as you hike there. You kind of skirt around it, but you can always look through the trees and see it as we get up here. This is the junction for Round Valley right there, and that's where the water was. This is where we make the hard left to continue up towards Wellman Divide. And from Round Valley to Wellman Divide is just under a mile, so almost like 3/4 of a mile, a little bit more. We're going to climb up to Wellman Divide, and this was the point where we could see south. I recommended taking a break here. Here you can see this is the divide right there, and we can see all of these peaks in the distance. But from here, we're going to make that hard, right-hand turn from the boulders and go on our last section, which will be about 3 miles, a little less than 3 miles, 2.5, 3 miles to the top. Now here you can see as I zoom out, we had that very long section that went here, and there was Cornell Peak over here that we could see, but we were going out through the scrub, and we went back into the trees through here where those big granite boulders were, back out into the scrub. This is that switchback that goes back. I told you to watch out. I put the winter route in there just in case you are doing it in the winter. This is generally the way to go up, but let's not do that in the summer. Let's go on back, and then when we get to this top section here, this is where that turn was. There was a trail junction sign. If you took the trail down there, it'll go down towards Idlewild, which is down here. And if you do want to climb up from Idlewild, I have that guide on the website too. It's San Jacinto from Deer Springs Trail. And then once you come up there, this is where the hut is, right over here. And then we kind of come up and around and we climb up the boulder field to the summit, which is right there. And that's the hike. When you're done here, you just turn around and go back down the way you came. And don't forget to leave your permit in the box at the ranger station, but we're just going to come on down. There's also little tram signs if you get lost on the signs. You don't remember which way you're going. There's little pointers on a lot of the signs that say tram is this way. But anyway, that's the hike, guys. Have fun, and I will see you out there.